So in today's tutorial, I want to go through the MoGraph MultiShader. So basically, if you don't want to create a different material for each clone, you can use a multi-shader. So I'm just going to start by creating a cloner, and I'm going to add some objects to this. I'm going to add a cube, just reduce the size slightly. I'm going to add a sphere, and maybe a cone. Next, I'm going to increase the number of clones, and I'm just going to add some rotation to this. So instead of creating a different material for each clone, we can use a multi-shader. So I'm going to go into my materials, and I've got a few preset materials which I always use here, but I'm going to create a new material, and for the color I'm going to choose MoGraph MultiShader. So I'm going to go into my multi-shader now, and we basically need to create different types of materials. So we can create a color, make this a red, go back up. This can be a noise map, might make it green. We can add more shaders, so I'm just going to click on add, and I'm going to add a color, maybe a blue this time. Finally, just one more color. I'll make that white actually. Next, I'm going to apply this to my cloner, and I'm just going to call it multi. So as you can see, it's applied the green noise map to all the clones, and this isn't really the result I'm looking for. I want to use random materials for each clone. And we can go to the multi-shader and set the mode to index ratio, and then this way we basically get a step effect. So it's using red, green, blue, then white in order. So we might want to make this more random. So I'm going to add a random effector to my cloner. And instead of using position, I'm going to set the color mode to on. And then I'm going to go back to my multi-shader material. I'm going to set the mode to color brightness. Now we get a more random effect. And the way this works is basically, if I go back into random and set the color mode to user defined, it's basically using every value between white and black to then give each cloner a different color. So white, all of them are white, because that's the last shader, I believe. I can actually just move this up, and then it becomes blue. Blue's the last shader in the list. And if I make this user defined color black, all the cloners are red, and if I step up and cycle through the different colors, you'll see all of them change at once. Depending on the brightness value here, it's giving them each a different shader from the multi-shader. So I'm just going to go back to color mode on, and under Effector we have different modes. So this is just a standard random mode. We have Gaussian, noise, I believe this is animated, turbulence, which is also animated, and lastly sorted. So sorted is a pretty useful mode because it basically tries to use every single shader in our multi-shader at least once, and you can't really see it now, but if I reduce the number of clones down to 3, you can see that it's trying to use one of each shader. And if I had 4 cloner objects, I'll put a cylinder in there. It's not in perfect order, but it does try and use at least one of each shader. So this is about as orderly as it's going to get, unless we kind of specify exactly which shader we want each cloner to use. If for some reason you want to override a material, you can do that. So let's say I want to use the black on the cones. So if I add the black to the cones, it's still using the multi-shader, but it's making an exception for the cone. All the cones are black. So that just gives you an extra dimension of control. And now all the cubes are black. So that's a very basic introduction into the multi-shader. If you found it useful, please share it, and thanks for watching.